Am I live? Is this thing on? Can everybody hear me? I'll just wait to make sure that I'm live. All 8 of you or 10 of you. Hello. Oh, good. So, hi. I don't know what you're all doing here. It's 1 o'clock my time. I'm a little surprised there are 10 people sitting around waiting for YouTube. But how nice to see everybody. First live stream ever. I've done live premieres before. I've done a couple of videos. A lot of you have watched them. And it's all about, so far, Jack and Lily, other than my podcast that I do with my daughter. Those episodes, I think we have like 88 of them. They automatically upload to YouTube. We had absolutely nothing to do with that. It just came with the platform that we pay for. And when I realized that I had a YouTube channel with a few followers that, people were actually going on and watching, listening to our audio podcasts on YouTube, I was like, okay. So then after I started with Sunny, she was good enough to put my channel in her StreamYard loop, I guess. It shows up on her stream once in a while. So the reason why I decided to start doing things on my own a little bit, breaking away from Sunny a little bit, is because Sunny's already got her following. I think we've both done a really good job with Kent on her channel, bringing out information that came directly from the family, no matter which family member you're thinking of. We pretty much, I struggled to, well, mind you, hidden in the fog, I guess she had a couple of people that were close to the investigation on her live streams on TikTok a few times. But for the most part, I think that for whatever reason, a lot of the family decided to trust and share with Sunny and myself on It's a Crime and Shame. So in that sense, we've had some of the fast track information to put it out to you guys, just trying to keep the case alive, trying to keep the faces out there, because it happens all the time. When this first happened, it was huge. But things die off, other cases happen, and people kind of move on. And we're seeing that with Lilly and Jack. And it's unfortunate, but it's just the way of social media. It's the way of mainstream media. They can't stick to one story for too long, especially when there's nothing new coming out from our CMP. And in Canada, it's so hard to get information, even after cases are all said and done. It's so hard to get information to report on. That's why I think a lot of YouTube channels, they focus on things that happen in the United States, and Canadian cases don't get enough coverage because it's so hard to get facts. And that's why I think having family and friends of family, people that are closely connected to the case, trusting a channel and giving them information is so important, right? Because for a lot of us, we don't want to put out information that's not factual. There's only so many things we can do to verify certain things, but the way I see it is, if no matter if what the person is saying is true or not, we can say that we heard it from this person. It's a fact that this person said that, right? We're not trying to say this is 1,000% ironclad fact is what exactly happened or is what exactly is going on. But we can say this is 100% coming from family, and whether they're lying or not, we don't know. We don't know, but we're just telling you what we heard. I think there are a few content creators that have agendas, whatever the agenda is, and I'm not talking about monetization or anything like that, but they have agendas, and for whatever reason, clicks and views, and it becomes very important for them to have the most salacious headline out there. And they bring people in, and then unfortunately people believe everything that they hear on YouTube, which I'm here to tell you, you can't do. You simply can't do. even the mainstream media, they pick and choose what they're going to report on, and it's right or wrong. It's just the way of the world. So, anyways, long story short, too late. The reason why I wanted to start covering this on my own a little bit is because I have not different ideas, but a different focus that I want to kind of concentrate on. And everybody that watches It's a Crime and Shame, I think, knows where my opinions are and how I kind of got to where I am right now. But I also want to be like Switzerland. I don't want to have it because it doesn't matter. Okay, so YouTube, we know we've either got pro Daniel, Janie, or we've got and I haven't yet to see a pro Malaya channel, to be honest with you, but we have pro Daniel or Janie, or people think that Daniel and Janie are guilty of something, or all three are guilty of something. And although I might have my own opinions based on the information that I have and the things that I've seen since day one, or I can't say day one, I was actually in Mexico day one. So day 4, when I landed, I started to pay really close attention. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but we've talked about Malia's interview at length, like at nauseum. We've talked about Malia's interview. And now I've created this whole compilation, I guess, of Daniel's interviews from the beginning. And I think if you go back and watch and you try to get rid of your bias and stuff, because no matter what we think and what we say and what we argue, it is bias at this point. But if we try to look at it through clear eyes, non-judgmental eyes, you can see why a lot of us felt for Daniel. You really can. And you can see how he came out. He was on his own. Malaya left day 2, but he was still out looking for his stepkids. I still, to this day, don't think that his emotions was fake or convoluted in any way. I think it was genuine emotion. But I've said since then, there are so many things, so many different scenarios that could make a person become emotional. So that said, I want my channel to be, and it sounds so silly, but I want my channel to be more of a safe space for anybody. Do I want Daniel, Janie in here chatting in my live chat? No, I don't. I'll put it out there right now. If they see this, if you're watching this, I do not want you in here chatting. I think that I'm probably the only YouTube creator that has specifically asked Daniel to stop talking online because you're not doing yourself any favors. But do I want him to clear up some of the inconsistencies that made public opinion go so far away from what he was saying and doing? I do. I absolutely do. And do I think he still has an opportunity to change public perception? I do. But the longer it goes, the harder it's going to be for him. And the fact is, here's the bottom line. If he didn't do anything, and Janie didn't do anything, and Malaya didn't do anything, and law enforcement doesn't think the kids are in the woods, and they also don't think that the kids are hidden somewhere, where does that leave us? Right? Like, what are we supposed to think? All of this undeniable evidence that Daniel seems to have doesn't seem to jive with what the RCMP is saying and doing, right? So I'm just gonna, I need to check something out. So talk amongst yourselves. And if you guys have any questions for me, who I am, where I'm from, my podcast, anything like that, put them in chat. I just got a warning on my computer, so I got to check something out. I'll be right back. Okay. I think I got it sorted out, hopefully. If I die, I die. Not me, my channel, my internet, whatever. Yes, so, oh, good Lord, Christine, can I show these things? Okay, so I've never done like a lot, I told you at the beginning, so I am tripping my way through this, so bear with me. And I'm also not a talker. I can't. I was watching Sunny this morning, and I've watched Sunny for years, and I've been on with Sunny, and she can literally sit there and just talk to you guys. She always has something to say, and I don't. I just don't. I never have. Doesn't matter what setting I'm at. I will answer questions. If I'm asked for an opinion, I will give it. But other than that, I am an observer and a listener. So this is challenging, and there are going to be times where there's dead air where I just have nothing to say, and I'll be looking through the chat like right now. There is a couple of things that I want to play because I think it's important, because when I was going through Daniel's interviews, and you can see when social media started to take a turn against Daniel, and we, I guess, all started to kind of question every move that he made, and he would make these little comments in his videos. And I think that started from day one, honestly, when we saw Malaya's interview. And it was because of her cadence and her behavior in that interview that I think caught everybody's attention online. Like, that, it doesn't sound right. There was something about it that just doesn't jive with how parents normally act when their children are missing, especially early on, right? I've seen so many cases where parents will come out and they'll plead for their kids, and it's heartbreaking. But then after, a week or 2 weeks or something, then they calm down, but they're more focused, right? They have an idea of what happened, and they're more focused, and they're able to convey what they're thinking clearly. I'm not saying that Malaya was clear, but she was very calm, and it could be her demeanor, but it was just a little bit off-putting, and I think we can all agree with that. But having said that, that is why I think it caught so many people's attention online. It was 100% Malaya, and then we were captivated by Daniel's his effort. And something that really stuck with me with Daniel from the beginning is he's the stepfather, and it's not like he's the stepfather for 5, 10 years, 15 years. It was 2 years, 2 years and a bit, right? It wasn't like, and I don't know how to put what I'm actually thinking. It's not like I think you grow more and more connected as more and more time goes by. So, and I'm not saying that 2 years isn't a lot of time, because it is. But for him to stick around and continue doing what he was doing even after Malaya left was incredible to me. It was like, well, if she's not looking for them, why is stepdad still there looking for them? And everything just kind of went sideways after that. And then when I had my conversation with him, I was at hook, line, and sinker. Like, I felt terrible for him for a couple of days, and then I was distracted by all the online noise and accusing me of faking that entire conversation. Like, I don't have time in the day, half the time, to brush my hair properly. Like, I don't even know where people come up with these ideas. Like, do people actually do that? Make up entire conversations? And how would you do that? You would have to make a whole other profile and then go back and forth. It sounds tedious to me, and I would never do that. But I was being accused of doing that. And then there were a couple of people on Facebook who were being particularly nasty to me about it. And other people were telling me that was Daniel doing that under fake profiles. That got me thinking, well, if Daniel is attacking me and accusing me of faking this conversation when he knows I wasn't faking it, then he wants the public to think that he didn't say all those things about Malaya. That's what I came up with, and that is what changed my perspective on Daniel and paying more attention to everything he's saying. And why is he going into YouTube live chats and saying all of these bizarre things? Okay, like I said, I don't want to go there just yet. But I did do a podcast episode a couple of years ago with my daughter. Oh, I have to forgive me just a minute. So, okay. Christina just finished Janie's. Wow, that's a big undertaking, hey? And yeah, I've listened to it a few times, believe it or not. We're not going to talk about specifics today. We will get into it for sure. But anyways, I want to make sure that you guys can hear this. Has everybody heard of Holly Jones? Nothing in chat. That's fine. So Holly Jones, 10-year-old little girl, and this happened in the year 2000 in Toronto. It was the first Amber Alert ever issued in Canada. And it was bizarre. Just a little tiny bit of background. I don't want to tell you the whole story. I mean, I will if you want me to, but Holly was 10, and she had a friend over to her house one day, and she was in grade 5, and her little friend was in grade 4. And when it was time for the friend to go home, Holly told her mom, I have to walk, I believe her name was Claudette, I have to walk Claudette home because I'm older. And her mom was like, I don't understand that logic. And that she wasn't one of these mothers that just let her kids go out and do whatever, whenever. But she thought it was time for Holly to have a little bit of freedom. Holly wanted to make sure her friend got home safe. So her mother said, okay, there and back, straight there and back. And Holly said, okay, mom, love you, bye. Holly made it to her mom or her friend's house, dropped her friend off, and never made it back home. So that's where I'm going to leave it. And then I'm going to play you, it's just an audio clip. There is a full episode on the Fifth Estate about this, but I can't play it here. They do copyright strikes. So, but anyways, this is an audio podcast, obviously. And like I said, we recorded this probably close to 3 years ago now. But the very beginning of it, most of our podcasts, I like to put an audio clip of something from parents or something from like a series, an SK. I'll put like a voice clip or something in there from the specific people. But this here is Holly's mom. This is her plea from to Holly. And let me just, I need to make sure, because I don't know, Sunny, I don't know, because I have, okay, so I have this muted, and I don't want this muted. Okay. Let me know where, because it's only maybe 20 seconds, okay? So you got to listen, and let me know if you can hear it. But this is Holly's mom. Day 2, after her daughter went missing, she didn't come home that night, and they called the police right away. Like I said, they had an Amber Alert issued. Nobody saw Holly, okay? And this is what fires me up about Canada. Nobody saw Holly. They still had the same criteria for an Amber Alert. And this case did not meet that criteria, but they still issued an Amber Alert, okay? And then a few years later, Tori, I can't think of her name. Tori Stafford went missing, and they had a video of Tori walking off with a woman. They did not issue an Amber Alert. They had a description of a car. They did not issue an Amber Alert. It drove me nuts. But thankfully, they issued an Amber Alert in Holly's case. Unfortunately, it didn't help. But anyways, here is Holly's mom when Holly went missing.
Honey, our hearts go out to you. Baby, if you can hear me, you know how much we love you. I feel you inside of me, and I'm trying to find you. I'm doing everything. Everybody's working very hard. And whoever has her, I beg you with all my heart, that you keep her and bring her home to her mother and father. You keep her safe, I beg you. She hasn't ever hurted anyone in her life. She's a happy girl. I beg you not to hurt her.
Disclaimer. In this story, we will be discussing the murder of a 10-year-old.
So, you can hear the heartbreak and the worry and the terror in that woman when she is talking about her daughter, pleading for whoever has her daughter, don't hurt her. She's a lovely girl. Please don't hurt her. That's how parents act when their children are missing and we don't know what happened to them, right? It is so heartbreaking. And could you imagine your child going missing? Whether you think they walked into the woods or if you think they could have been abducted, they're gone. You would be so beside yourself with worry. But thankfully, I can't relate to Judge Malaya. We don't know her. We don't know her disposition. We don't know. We've heard that she's calm, cool, and collected most of the time anyways. But there would still be, I don't know, I just think that there would be a sense of terror that I would not be able to control or hide. It's very, that to me is what gave this case the legs that it got on social media. She could have been in shock, finding solace, absolutely. I thought about that, and then when Daniel had said about Malaya having serious postpartum depression, I mean, I started to consider that as a reason for her lack of emotion. She was a little bit emotional, but not like Holly's mom, and not like a lot of other moms. She had more of the Megan Boswell vibe to her. I don't know if y'all have heard of Megan Boswell. I don't have a video ready, but I do have an interview that Megan gave to media that is not unlike Malaya's. I don't think that Malaya's interview seemed rehearsed. It seemed like she was trying to remember things that she was told. She wasn't reaching back in her own memory for a lot of it. I think she was trying to remember what she was told, if that makes sense. Do I think that Malaya has her kids hidden? No. No, I don't. And the reason for that is, unlike other people that think that, somebody would have said something, somebody would have seen something. After all this time and all of these resources, you're telling me that nobody would come forward? They've been locked inside of a house for 5 months? It doesn't make sense. And to what end? If Malaya had taken the kids or sent the kids away to hide them because she was leaving Daniel, okay, then what? Because she still can't see her kids. She's still being watched by the RCMP, and nobody's ever going to convince me otherwise. They know her every move. They know her every call. They know who comes and goes out of her house. So she's still not allowed to see her kids. She's not able to go and visit them. So at what end? What is her goal? There is nothing that makes sense. It never made sense to me that she sent them away because she was leaving Daniel. Because the one child that she would have to worry about a custody issue with is Meadow. But instead she sent Jack and Lily away, even though those two can walk and help carry things or listen to what they're being told. There was no reason to sneak them out of the house like that. When Daniel was home, when he didn't work the other 6 days a week, she could have picked the day that he was working. So all that said, the kids are not in hiding. There's no logical path to that scenario. And now with Daniel saying, I know I didn't do anything, I know my mom didn't do anything, and I know Malaya didn't do anything. So what does that mean? Are we saying that somebody else came that morning and took the kids? Again, for what purpose? To what end? Yeah, they managed to get Malaya away from Daniel, which I believe was going to happen regardless. But she still can't see her kids. So I don't see the logic in that. Let me just look through chat a little bit. Lily and Daniel were responsible for the children and didn't get up with them. Whatever happened to Lily and Jack, neglect. You're 100% right, Randy. And I don't know what legal boundaries are when it comes to neglect. There's no proof that they weren't emaciated, they weren't, dirty or whatever that we know of. But I know that there's criminal neglect and neglect. So, and to me, the reason why they're not being charged with neglect is because there's no evidence other than they were outside playing for a few minutes by themselves at one time. Do you know what I mean? Like the RCMP would have to have proof to show consistent that was harming their well-being. So I agree with you 100%, but I don't know if it's enough to charge them at this point. See what, I'm not going to say that, but I'm not monetized, but I don't know, like if I say those words, Sunny, am I going to get shadow banned or whatever? Because I don't care about like not monetizing or whatever, but I don't know why we can't say those words. So if it's all about monetization, then you guys can say whatever you want because I'm not monetized. But if it's something else, then we'll stick to rugs. But yeah, you're totally right. Maybe rugs, rocks. I can't do this. My podcast is not censored at all. Lindsay says, I agree, the lack of sincere grief from Malaya. Yeah. And not even statements. And that's another thing that I want to bring up as the lawyer. There are so many people out there that are using the term Malaya lawyered up. I don't think Malaya lawyered up over Jack and Lily's case. I think that she was offered representation because of Meadow. She knew, everybody knew that Daniel would be wanting visitation or custody of Meadow. But honestly, at this point, that's neither here nor there because neither of them have Meadow. But you're right. I was waiting for, because it doesn't matter if it's a family lawyer or a criminal lawyer, if you're in the middle of a missing kids case and people are wondering why you're not talking, the logical thing to do would be to issue a statement through your lawyer that kind of explains why you're not talking. Because there are reasons that I think we could all understand as to why Malaya wouldn't be talking on social media. I think that where Daniel is today is a perfect example as to why Malaya is smart for not being on social media. But an issued statement from her lawyer, I think, would have went a long way. These people have just been given terrible advice, or if they've been given good advice, they're not listening to it. So I agree, 100%. Now it looks like Charmaine. I'm guessing I'm used to seeing on a smaller screen. So much love to you. Yeah. Thanks. She kept looking at someone off camera. Who, me? No. Malaya. Yeah. Exactly. I know, right? I don't know what you're talking about, but I know, right? It's true. How long before the kids went missing that she was taken away in ambulance for her? So she wasn't taken away. The ambulance, I believe, was there. That was on Saturday, and it would have been Saturday afternoon because she left very quickly after that ambulance visit, right? And we know that because, or wait, maybe it was Saturday evening. I would have to get Belinda to clarify because I know when Belinda got back from searching, they were still there. She didn't see Daniel that day, but Malaya was still there. But she left, and she either, yeah, she left before the altercation happened in the driveway. So we have to get Belinda to verify. Makes sense to me. Everything I say makes sense. Honestly, I'm just kidding. I don't know what you're referring to. I don't know if I'm behind in chat, so forgive me. Hi, Stefan. Let's see you live. Are you? Oh. I understand the panic and anxiety with 3 small kids on that place. Did Patty really ask Darren to get, according to Durwood, and I'm sorry, sometimes I call him Darren, but I usually would just call him Durwood because that's how he was presented to us. And that's who he still chats as. So I don't know that anybody's heard directly from Patty. And in fact, I'm very confident to say nobody's heard directly from Patty. But according to Durwood, she had asked him to help Malaya before all of this would happen, and he didn't want to get involved. Which I'm not saying anything, Darren. Calm the F down. But I mean, the facts are the facts, right? After this happened, I believe it was a connection to Daniel and Darren's son, Jordan. They worked at the sawmill together or something, so Darren did have kind of a connection. And I think that Patty asked him to go and try to get some information out of Daniel. I believe that's how that went. You guys hear my train? Mute. It really bothered Heather how he said he knows, like, he was 100% certain that the cadaver or the human remains detection dogs weren't going to find anything on the property. And I agree. Like, how can you be so confident when at the end of that interview you said, yes, you still believe the kids are alive, you hope so, all we have is hope. Hope is not certainty, and it's not fact. And it's really nice and it's great that you want to hope that the kids are still alive out there somewhere, but to know 100% that they're not going to find anything on your 2-acre property, even in the wooded area, seems kind of a bold statement, and it leads people to believe that you know that they're not there. And how do you know that? I wish there was a way that I could just get through to Daniel about some of the things that he says and his timing of saying them and how he leaves it so open-ended. I over-explain myself, but he leaves people hanging almost every time he says something. And that's what causes so much speculation. It gives people fodder to run with rumors and bullshit. And I wish there was a way that I could get through to him about not leaving open-ended questions and to explain himself. And if something doesn't jive with what he said before, clear it up right then and there. We'll talk about the toad thing later, but see what doesn't see any logic in any of it. Same. I think mom checked out mentally. And that's kind of what I was getting at, Kelly. Like a reasonable explanation for Malaya's demeanor in that interview would have been if she was mentally checked out, postpartum, kind of disattached to Jack and Lilly for any amount of time before this happened, and now you're slapped in the face with this reality, with TV cameras in your face and RCMP on your property looking for the kids that you've disconnected from. That's a pretty hardcore reality check right there. And that could reasonably explain her demeanor. But that's not what we're hearing. So okay. Jules, you're right, and Sunny's right, and everybody else is right. That say there's such a low probability that a stranger just happened to be driving by during the however long, because we don't know, but however long those kids were outside playing by themselves. Low probability doesn't mean impossible. So if I said at the beginning, Daniel didn't do anything, Malaya didn't do anything, Janie doesn't know anything, kids are not being hidden, kids didn't go out in the woods, what does that leave? I had a chart when I've been considering doing a live for a few days, but I had a chart from Government of Canada that lists out all of the child abductions in the entire country for the last 20 years. And in, I think it was 2024, 2023, I can't remember, and I might be able to, but I'm not organized enough to pull it up right there now, but maybe next time. There were 0 cases of human trafficking with child abductions on this chart. 0. Not saying that it didn't happen, but they weren't able to trace any abduction back to human trafficking. Stranger abductions was number 3 on the list. Parental abductions, obviously, number 2. And number 1 was wandered off, got lost, fell into rivers, whatever. So there are stats for that in Canada. And although it's very low probability, it doesn't mean it's not possible. Because if you put everything else out, you want to believe Daniel, you want to believe Malaya, you want to believe Janie, what else is there? And I hope with the RCMP saying that nothing is off the table, that as well is not off the table. Because they should have. That property, that trailer, all of it should be cordoned off day one. Because whether it was a crime scene or not, they needed to protect that scene. They needed to protect and preserve that evidence. If not only for tracking dogs or clues, then to keep it from getting contaminated the way it was. I don't know where else to go with that. Did the RCMP mess up? In my opinion, they did, because they didn't protect that scene right from the get. It should have been blocked off. People shouldn't have been allowed coming and going out of the trailer. I feel like, so remember when Allie interviewed Janie and she opened and closed that silent sliding glass door? Not as loud as I expected it to be, but it's not silent. But the thing about it that got me was the weight of the door. Do we think that little Lilly would be able to open that door and then turn around and close it, both silently? It seems a little hard to believe. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just, they proved a point. The door doesn't make as much noise as I expected it to, but it ain't silent. But it was very heavy. even for Allie. I'm just throwing that out there. Oh, good. I'm not monetized, so it doesn't matter. Good. Feel free. Let's swear. Let's have a swearing party. I need that today. So yeah, the Holly Jones case, one of many in Ontario. Yeah. Yeah. The bigger the population, the bigger the crime rate. And the thing about it, and this doesn't have anything to do with Jack and Lilly, but the thing about it in Canada, I don't know if anybody's watching from outside of Canada, we do not have access to our sexual offender registry. We cannot access it. We don't know who's living in our neighborhood. And when Holly Jones went missing, there were over 200 registered sex offenders living in her immediate area in Toronto. 200. I mean, if a parent knows that, and if there's nothing that we can do about it as citizens, the least we can do is protect our kids. We need the information to protect our kids. So what do we do now? We keep our kids locked up. No, you're not walking down the street by yourself. Are you crazy? Absolutely not. I lived in Calgary with my kids. They were very young, 4 and 8, when I finally decided to move up north to a very small town. But the thing that pushed me over the edge to get out of there was we lived in a complex. I was a single mom. I lived in a complex, and there was a park on the complex. I couldn't see the park from my patio door, but it was just on the other side of the opposite lane. So I used to let my kids go and play at that park. My 8-year-old was really good with my 4-year-old, and it was, I thought, safe. There was a man who seemed to be mentally disturbed, but he would chase my kids with a bike or say things to them. He never did anything, never touched them. I called the police, and they said, well, unless he does something to your kids, there's nothing we can do about it. All we can tell you is to protect the kids. So then my kids weren't allowed to go to the park anymore. And that is the least of the lengths that parents need to go through nowadays. Now I've got Apple tracker pods sewn into my grandson's backpack and shoes. This is the state that we're at now when you want to protect your kids. I don't know how I went off on that. I never intended to go off on my own thing, but I'm just saying the state of the world today is much different than it was back when Holly Jones and Tori Stafford and those, but there's still way too many abductions. Why is Cindy MIA? This is my personal opinion. I don't know. I've never heard from Cindy myself. I've never tried to talk to Cindy myself. But if you're convinced that Jack and Lilly are dead, would you be out putting missing persons posters up? Would you be on social media begging for their safe return? If you were convinced, for whatever reason, because we don't know what the family knows, would you be out here looking for your kids, for your grandkids? I can't relate to judge, but in my mind, the only thing that makes sense is that they believe or are convinced that they're no longer with us. Is that I don't want to fight with anybody about that, because is Malaya and her family acting like they want to find the kids? Obviously not, and I don't think I'm disrespectful in saying that. They're not looking for the kids. There's not. It is day 5 of the search, and we have heard nothing. I hope the RCMP, month 5 of the search, you mean? I hope the RCMP are listening and going to places that have been mentioned over and over in social media. This could be a good bridgeway to something else that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, the RCMP is listening. They have people dedicated to social media. Daniel confirmed that in his interview. They have people watching everything that happens in social media. I'm not going to mention other channels, but when you have somebody with a large platform who's out here telling people that the RCMP have cleared Daniel and Janie and Malaya of any wrongdoing, that is irresponsible, and you are spreading false information. You just are. The RCMP haven't cleared anybody. Anybody. Polygraph tests mean nothing. They are a tool. I'm not saying that they weren't being truthful when they took those polygraph tests, but to take those court documents, not even being a Canadian and understanding how our system of justice works and our Privacy Act and our freedom of information, telling people that the RCMP have cleared them is irresponsible because it's not true. If they had cleared anybody, they would have come out and said it. They have looked past Cody Sullivan. They are no longer interested in Cody Sullivan. We know that because Cody and Belinda got the phone call saying that they basically cleared them. None of the other ones have. That doesn't mean that they've done anything. That just means that nobody is cleared and nothing is off the table yet. So stop reporting that because it's false. It's not right. And I think for today, this is my first live stream. I'm not going to get into anything dirtier. Although I would hope that all YouTube channels, no matter if you're in it for the clicks and views and you're monetized and you're trying to make money and you want people to watch your content, so you put out like clickbait or whatever you want to call it. If that's your game, that's fine. But everybody should be here for a common goal and to find answers and to assist in locating Jack and Lilly. We're never going to find out what happened to Jack and Lilly because we weren't there, but we can at least keep it alive so there's still pressure being put where pressure needs to be put. And finding them, bringing them home in whatever state that is, that's different than saying figuring out what happened to Jack and Lilly, because I'm no fool. We're not going to find out what happened to Jack and Lilly short of a full confession from whoever or whatever. And even then, would you believe all of it? So anyways, stop saying that the RCMP have cleared anybody because they haven't. The only people that I believe that they've cleared is Cody. And that's about it, really. That's the only one that we heard that the RCMP have told we are no longer looking at you. So, and that is on Sunny's channel. Belinda did a live stream with Sunny, and she was answering questions because everybody's like, well, those polygraph tests, it was only 4 questions. Well, 4 specific questions to this case, right? They still established a baseline. There were probably a few questions before those 4 main questions, test questions, just to establish their baseline. Do you guys think that they asked everybody the same 4 questions? Or do you think the questions that they were asked were based on the statements that they gave to the RCMP? I think that they were based on the questions, or based on the statements that were given to the RCMP, just to make sure that what they said was the truth, or, factual, whatever, however you want to put it. But I don't think that they were given the same questionnaire. I think that they gave the RCMP their statements, which we'll get into those in a later live stream. They said, this is my first one, so yeah. But I don't think. What is this about? Janie said a different time the ambulance came. Janie said many different things. I don't think Janie did anything. I'm going to put that out there right now. I don't think Janie did anything. I don't think that she was out digging holes or anything like that. I think that she believes she heard what she heard. I don't believe that Janie did anything to the kids. Put it that way. for today. I'm trying to Switzerland. Remember, I'm a safe space for everybody to come in, and if you're not going to be, I'm not going to attack anybody, and I'm hoping nobody's going to come in here and attack this or Sunny. I don't want to hear that in my chat either. You don't like her, don't watch her, but I don't need to hear about it here either. But besides the point. Support. We'll step out. Okay. If I'm missing your comments, guys, it's nothing personal. It's really not. This is weird. I think she's talking about the time Janie watched the kids while Malaya went to the emergency room via ambulance. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, Stepa. That's something that she can maybe clarify, and we can look into it and talk about it another day. It's already 50 minutes. Can't believe I've talked this long. And Hero Daniel made dinner for Janie and tidied the house. When? When was that? I read in a chat that Justin was staying there with Janie because of issues with his wife. Is there any truth to that? Now all of a sudden he's MIA. Well, I'll tell you that I don't know if he was staying there with Janie at the time of the disappearance, but I do know that he was not living there, like was reported before. I do know that his wife had recently found out that she was pregnant, and I do know that they're still together to this day. So whether or not he was staying there, unless Justin comes out and says it, then I'm going to say no. I'm going to leave it at that because the information that I have is it's rumor. There's no way to verify it. So why do I want to start putting more shit out there? More stuff to wade through. You know what I mean? I don't think so. It is very surreal, Esther. Do you mean the dogs? I believe the dogs have wrapped up the search of the property, but they're not done searching. There are other places of interest. Gloating over the fact that they found nothing. I don't know why. I don't know why. All that means is that there were no decomposition remains, decomposition fluids, skin cells there for the dogs to hit on. That's all that means. We could get graphic on another live stream if you want to, but it takes the human body, depending on temperature and environment, 20 to 40 minutes to start decomposing to a point where they're going to lose fluids, skin cells, hair with the death banding, 20 to 40 minutes. And that's after the heart stops beating. So I'm just going to leave that floating out there. And I'm not saying anything. I'm just facts. Facts. I guess more puzzle pieces. You can hear the train from your house? Try sleeping with it. Yeah. Tori Stafford's case was awful. It was absolutely awful. 2008. This one is mind-blowing too, you guys. Like, you want to talk Canadian true crime, Canadian justice system. So Terry Lynn McClintock and Michael Rafferty took this little girl, did horribly unspeakable things to her. Terry Lynn, the woman, murdered her, admitted to it on the stand at Michael Rafferty's trial. She's not Indigenous, but she was transferred to a healing lodge because they didn't bother to check to see if she was really Indigenous. She just identified as one. And we had to petition to get her moved back to a maximum security prison. Then, at the same time, Michael Rafferty was transferred into a medium security prison. Around the same time that Paul Bernardo, the Scarborough rapist and serial killer, was also transferred into medium security. And when we're moving people from max to medium security, it's because we're starting a reintegration process. We're trying to get them ready to re-enter society. These monsters don't ever need to see the light of day again. So when they're transferred into these medium security or healing lodges, it makes me sick. Go listen to my Tori Stafford podcast episode, because even our prime minister at the time didn't want to hear about the brutality that this little girl would go to or went through. But it was up to him to send them back to maximum security. He had to veto their transfer and send them back. And all he kept saying in the house was, please stop telling us what happened to the little girl. Well, clearly it's the only way to make you listen. These people don't need to be reintegrated. They need to be swallowed by the system and forgotten forever. So that's my little rant about the Canadian justice system. And that's just one of probably dozens of stories from the Canadian system of justice that just makes my skin crawl. You know what, Sunny? I see how it's easy for you to go off on your own rants. I don't usually do that, so. Sorry guys, I'm looking. I'm way too far behind on comments to catch everything. Sorry guys. If you said something really, really good, put it again in the chat and we'll address it. I don't want to put that up, Heather, but that's interesting. I'd like to hear about it if it's related to the medication that Malaya was on. Malaya has completely gone numb because she knows what happened. It's gone beyond words. I agree, but did it go beyond words after day 2? Was it that quick for her? Or did she come to a realization Saturday afternoon of what probably happened? It's possible. Tracking dogs not being able to follow a scent doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't, considering that, yes, it was a few days since the last time they walked out to the road to catch the school bus, but it was something that they did regularly, you know? But I know it was cold and rainy. Maybe scent washes away. I don't know for sure, but I agree, Caper. Why did Malaya take their birth certificates? Why did she leave Cindy's knowing she would lose Meadow? That part is still in my mind. Me too. This is a girl, a woman, a 28-year-old woman who has no impulse control, maybe? Who was coming for her that made her think that she needed to leave and take Meadow with her, knowing that her mother was mandated to be the supervisor over Meadow? What was Malaya thinking? And we don't know because Malaya's not talking. But there's the thing. Why did she take their birth certificates? I don't know. But when a vulnerable person's missing alert or whatever that's called goes out, like border patrol or whatever they're called, the border security would have that in their system. So if somebody's trying to get across the border with these kids without parental consent, but they have their birth certificates, it's still going to flag something in the system that these kids, maybe not right then and there, but it's still going to flag something that these kids crossed the border somewhere. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that they would have been like, oh, red alert, these kids are missing. No, I'm saying at some point, the RCMP would have seen them cross the border, like on their systems, it would have shown that these two kids' names crossed the border. So I don't know why she took their birth certificates. Maybe it has something to do with getting them status. And why did she get them status? I don't know. Resources, maybe. Resources for what? Where are the kids? She can't see kids. Like, I don't know. It's all very confusing. RCMP, why not? And I think having television, it's not so much that they focused on the woods, because that's what they were told, that they think the kids went into the woods. But ironclad, 1000%, they did that because Janie said she heard the kids. So if a child goes missing, and there's many that we can bring up right now, if a child goes missing in the middle of the night, the two parents are inside the house, do the police believe everything the parents say? No, of course not. But if a third party who's not inside the house has information to corroborate what the parents say, maybe. We heard the kids in the room beside us, heard Jack in the kitchen, Lily popped her head in and out a few times, didn't hear the door, but Janie heard them out in the yard. That could be what, I guess encouraged the RCMP to focus on the woods. No evidence of an abduction does not mean that there wasn't an abduction. And you guys know I don't believe that that's what happened. I'm just saying there's no evidence of an abduction. It's far different than it wasn't an abduction. That's all I mean. Oh no, Joyous, we do have a list. We do have a sex offender list. Absolutely. There is a registry, 100%. The public doesn't have access to it. We don't get to know. They announce when a predator is released into the community. That's because the media knows all the ins and outs of how to get these documents through the Freedom of Information Act. The RCMP, they do not, or even city police, they have nothing to do with the actual administration of justice on these predators, right? They have nothing to do with the sentences they have when they're released, nothing. But they are alerted when these people are entering their communities, and so they're going to let the media know. The RCMP doesn't make the laws, right? They just enforce them. So there is a good system in place to let the public know that this person is going to be released into, they say is going to be living in the southwest of Edmonton, Alberta. Well, you're looking at probably 100,000 people or more. Like, I don't know, probably much more than that. So that's good to know that we know this one predator is going to be somewhere in the hundreds of block square area. We don't get to see, we just don't. Not until it's too late and they've already reintegrated into society. It's sad. To me, it's sad. It's so hard to protect your kids. It should be a public record anywhere, in my opinion. And it's all about protecting our kids. It's giving us the information that we need to protect our kids. Why is list not available? It's our Privacy Act. It's our far-reaching, strict Privacy Act. And it's not like people haven't, started petitions, and when kids are murdered, like Tori Stafford's dad is still fighting to this day to change the laws about stuff like that. It's disheartening. And I know that the Canadian government censorship of our news stories on Facebook and social media, was solely based on money and reimbursement for the ad revenue or whatever it was. It was solely based on money, but it still prevented us from sharing our Canadian information with anybody outside the country. It's censorship, and I disagree with it. It's our Privacy Act. And in Canada, convicted predators, felons, still have all of their rights intact when they come out of prison. And it's not right. In 25 years, Robert Pickton, murder 49 women, at least 49 women. And because of our justice system, he was convicted of 6 of those and was sentenced to our life term of 25 years. 25 years, and they were concurrent, so he served 25 years before he was eligible for parole. That piece of garbage was able to apply for parole. Thankfully, 2 months after he became eligible for parole, somebody beat him within an inch of his life from in a coma, and he ended up dying from that coma. But he was eligible to get out. And just a couple of weeks ago, check my Facebook, there was a guy who years ago, 25 years ago, he assaulted a little girl, cut her head off, served his time, and is out. He was released in Nova Scotia. How is that happening? So, more recently, that whole 25-year life sentence in Canada, that's still our sentence. But if they commit more than one felony, they are usually sentenced consecutively. There's a man, Douglas Garland, who murdered 3 people a few years back in Calgary. And that was the first case in Canada where the life sentences were to be served consecutively. So he's 75, more than that, because I think there was a burglary charge in there too, but 75 years before he's even able to apply for parole, and thankfully he'll be long gone before then. But that was just in 2014, 2015, maybe even 2016 when he was finally sentenced. And it doesn't happen every time. So our justice system is whacked. Whacked. RCMP was pointing to a part on the map when Malaya left. What do you mean? Yeah, we just talked about that. Makes me so sad. Scares the shit out of me for anybody with small kids. Honestly. Me. I lived in Toronto when my children were young, with a man with a garbage bag, eye holes cut out, walked into my home when my daughter was there with 2 friends. If it wasn't for my dog, wow, unbelievable, terrifying. Like, you can't even leave your kids in your own home. Are you saying that because... Wait a minute. I recognize you. You know Cindy. I remember you. Well, I know Cindy doesn't want to talk to the media or social media, and I can't say I blame her. But if they do want to give their side or give, absolutely anything that might answer some questions for the public, reach out to me. I'm not going to twist what you say. I'm not going to make a clickbait video. I don't know how many people are watching. I don't care. I've got this subscribe and share thing here because it covers up the StreamYard duck, or I think it's a duck. But share it if you want. I don't care. That's not what this is about. There's information. You guys, a lot of people asked me to do my own thing for whatever reason. I get it. And so that's why I'm here talking about my side of things. And I'm glad there's nobody here with me. Kind of. Not really. That's a lie. If I had somebody here with me, I wouldn't have to talk. So this is not my gig. But thank you. Malia is going to have to face what she has done. I suppose she may have just meant not getting out that morning. It's possible, but I think, and I know what you're talking about, Jules, I believe that that came from Durwood. Some of the things that he was saying on the different channels, Sundays included, because he was talking to Cindy. He is Cindy's, I believe, Patty is Cindy's mom, I want to say, and Patty is Durwood's cousin. So there's a relationship. So Durwood was talking to Cindy, and I believe that's who Cindy stated that to. Malia's going to have to face what she has done or live with what she has done. We don't know what that means, but I suspect it means, I think that at that time, Cindy might have thought that Malia had to have known something because they were in the house together that night. So I think that if they believed that Daniel had done something overnight, that Malia had to have known, and she's just not saying. And that's kind of what I think. Having said that, you have to consider the source. And Durwood got a lot of things either mixed up or straight up wrong. Because another thing that I want to do in a later live stream, the reason for the Janie voice clip compilation was to, unfortunately, I want to re-listen to Durwood. And I want to put it up against what Janie had said. And then I want to take all of that and I want to compare it to her RCMP statement. And I don't think that Janie did anything wrong, but I do think that she was given information, given a story by someone who she loves and trusts and will protect like a mama bear. And I think the reason why things keep changing is because of gaps and misstatements from earlier. But then when they try to clear something up, it opens more gaps. And then they do more misstatements. And it just became this huge snowball effect where it's so far out of control now. The only people that they will talk to is that one channel that I'm not going to mention. I don't understand. I don't understand why we can't hear from them specifically about the misinformation, misstatements, inconsistencies, just specifically about those things without them getting defensive and having to try to protect themselves because they're putting so much energy into try to change their public perception of them instead of looking for the kids. But you have to give it to Daniel. Almost every one of those early interviews, he was asking the public to bring forward any information. He was doing that, but we just haven't seen the posters. We haven't seen them actively participating in any campaign to help raise awareness. It's always raising drama or defending ourselves, right? And that's different than searching for your kids. And I want to make that clear. That if you really think, and even if you really hope that the kids are alive somewhere, we know that you use your Facebook, all of you, all three of you, you're on Facebook daily. You need to be posting their pictures. You need to be crying for help. Because if the kids are alive out there somewhere, somebody's going to see them. And you'd be surprised to know in Nova Scotia, there are communities that have no idea about Jack and Lily. And if it was my child, my children, there wouldn't be a single person in the province I lived in that didn't know. I would be so loud. once I regained my composure, because I don't know that I'd be able to speak, I'd be so terrified knowing the things that we know in true crime and things that happen. Your mind always does go to the worst possible scenario. I agree with you there, Malaya, but your actions certainly don't convey that that's what you were worried about. I don't. Absolutely, Cindy, reach out. Your story is safe with me. You won't twist it. You won't even post it. You don't even want me to. But it's got to be. Here's the thing. I believe that we have reached a dead end with Daniel and Janie. I do not think that they're going to give any more useful information, not that they have in months, because at this point, it's all just they could come out with the exact story of exactly what happened and nobody would believe them. And it's their own doing because they refuse to straighten up the inconsistencies. It's their own fault. So they can stay in their little safe room. I don't want to hear from them. I can't believe anything that they say unless they want to clear up those inconsistencies. And even then, like, what are we supposed to do with it? Where are we supposed to go with it? I think it's important that we go back to the beginning on May 2nd and start there and start re-listening to everything. And it's tedious to think of. Like, Christine, I cannot believe you sat and you listened to that whole 2.5 hour thing. I've done it many times, but I've also had it for a couple of months. So. Four questions is not enough. So. Depending on the questions, Christina. If they based the questions they asked on their specific statements they gave to the RCMP, I would be okay with just 4 questions, or add on the baseline questions. But it would depend on the questions, in my opinion, I think. Now, if they were given, 4 questions to ask all 6 of them, that's irresponsible and means nothing. So I agree, but depends on the 4 questions. And how thorough that baseline was. Oh, that's funny. I'm not laughing at you, Pink Roses. I think Jay is covering for her sons or Dawn's. Anybody knows the Mafia? That's funny. Randy McLean, I still wonder if they ever made it home that night. Fair. Haven't even looked into the possibility of them not. We know that they were seen Thursday afternoon. Amy Mihailovich, very sad. There are things, there's Jamie Boland, another podcast that we did. I think it was our most recent podcast that we did. And it's been a few months now. Both my daughter and I were working on separate projects, book, and I was also on YouTube. But Jamie Boland's father, when was this? 2010, maybe? 9? Can't remember the exact year. But anyways, the man who killed her was just executed last year, finally. And it had been, I believe, 14 years he was on death row. And her father is still beside himself to the point where he can't speak to the media without breaking down. It's the trauma and loss that these grieving parents feel, and they're stuck with for the rest of their lives. It's not just a fleeting, and I don't like to put it this way because my dog is my life, and anytime I have a dog, I keep them. They're my children. I love them with all my heart. And when my dozer died a few years ago, I was distraught. For months, I was distraught. Still, if I talk about him too much, I get choked up. But it's not like when your child goes missing or is murdered. It's not like losing a pet, in that you move on. You learn to cope fairly quickly without your pet, and you move on. You learn to live with that kind of little bit of an empty space, and then you might get another pet that helps fill that void. But when you lose a child, I think that it would be astronomically different. I cannot see, like Jamie Boland's father, ever being okay, ever healing. Holly Jones's mom still goes out, and she's got Holly's Garden in Toronto, and she still goes out and she plants things every year, and she maintains it, and fighting for changes in law and stuff. That's what people do when their children are missing with no answers, or their children are murdered. That's what parents do. Right? I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I've never had it happen to me, so. Oh my God, am I that far behind? I wonder if cafes and libraries Wi-Fi will check. They should. I feel like with comments like that, Randy, that makes me want to say things that are really rude, and I don't want to be that channel. Maybe I'll turn into that channel one day, but I don't want to be that channel today. But I don't see Daniel and Janie going to hang out in a cafe. I was going to leave it at that. Maybe a truck stop. Does that count? 7-Eleven? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Could be wrong. No judgment. I wanted to know how long before and when Patty asked Darren to pick up Malaya. Now, I don't remember, and I think when we start to review the things that Durwood said, I think that might be in there. I want to say it was back in, I want to say December, because the U-Haul was booked in February, right? If the U-Haul was booked in December, then Patty asking Darren would have been February, or vice versa. It's either December or February. But we can sort that out on another live. I agree with you, Solus. Bernardo is not coming out, but even giving him the opportunity for more resources by putting him into a medium security prison. Why give these pukes hope? Why give them any more resources or benefit or anything? Why? What have they done to earn anything? The last interview that Paul Bernardo did with the RCMP about a missing girl that they couldn't find, or an unsolved murder, he just played with them and bitched about Carla. Not that there's not lots to bitch about Carla, but he didn't give them any useful information. He was just like, why does she get this and I only got that? Or, he's still the narcissist psychopath that he always was. He never got put into medium security. Never. He doesn't deserve it. Hope you agree. Because I agree with you. He's not going to get out, but he should still not be in medium security. He shouldn't. It was late afternoon, was in the back of ambulance for treatment of panic. Daniel tried to talk to her, and Daniel told Cindy to fuck off. Get the fuck out of here, Cindy. And that's when Malaya said, I have to go with my mom. I'm going with my mom. Yeah, that did happen. If justice is not done in this life, they both just sign an oath to eternity in hell. It's facts. Based on your own belief system, but could be facts, absolutely. I have to go for now. I'll be back later to finish this live. I love you all, and thank you for all you do. I'll never give up hope and stop praying for these babies. Have a great day, Heather. Thanks for being here. Enjoyed watching you on Sunny's channel. Love your no-nonsense commentary. Everything I say is nonsense, Cheryl. Heads up. That was an amazing interview on CBC you did, Sunny. It was awesome. Charmaine, you're doing amazing. Thank you. Hope you do. Wow. Oh, spoiler. Try to say spoiler. Ernestine, this was before the kids went missing. Right. Okay. Charmaine, as a mom of 3 grown kids, I remember just how much driving to keep, right? Even when they're, teenagers. In my small town, teenagers. No crime ever happened there. Very little. Lots of little drug crimes and stuff, but we didn't have, like, murders or anything like that. The whole 25 years I lived there, never, not once. Nothing. Nothing. I still didn't want my kids playing in the archery field as teenagers and going drinking and stuff, did they? Yes. Found out when they were adults, and they thought it would be funny to tell me. But I still didn't want them doing that stuff. I trusted they were at their friend's house, but I mean, that's neither here nor there. But you go above and beyond for your kids, especially in a city or very, like, urban areas. Yeah. When they're older, when they're children, Jack and Lily's ages, you can't allow children of these ages to go anywhere anymore, anywhere by themselves. There was a little girl in the States somewhere, and the parents didn't know, but a friend of the dad's or stepbrother or somebody close to the family, and I think was even staying at the house. Parents weren't around, or dad wasn't around, whatever. Grandma wasn't paying attention, and friend of the family offered to drive the little girl to school. Raped her, killed her, threw her in the river. You can't trust anybody with your children anymore. You have to remember that in Canada, life sentence. We were just talking about that, Heather. Yeah. Did I miss a live or something? Not from me. This is my first one. So, Jess, the Ken and Barbie murders was not in Vancouver. It was in Toronto, St. Catharines, actually. That was Paul Bernardo and Carlo Mocha. Definitely Ontario, Toronto suburb, St. Catharines. But it is. But before that, Paul Bernardo was, I don't know the exact number, but dozens and dozens of rape victims, brutally attacked. Like, I'd love to talk about Canadian true crime cases on this channel. Like, I know this is about Jack and Lily right now, and it's super important to keep the story out there and keep talking about it, absolutely. But I think that my plan for the channel is to talk about some of the podcasts that I've done, some of true crime cases that have happened in Canada. And then obviously to bring awareness for any other missing kids. I definitely have ideas for my channel, but a lot of it revolves right now around keeping Jack and Lily's face out there. I want to YouTube the Jack and Lily Sullivan disappearance case. The way it's being covered on YouTube right now has become so toxic. And so you've got channels that are attacking each other or attacking guests that people have or opinions that people have. And I feel like I just want to step into I don't want to, but I feel like I need to step into the arena just to try to clear the air a little bit, just a little bit. And that's why I don't want to mention these other channels and people that are into the Jack and Lily case. They're watching all the coverage. You know what channels I'm referring to. But when we're giving our own opinions, that's fine. But we start to personally attack other creators, it's wrong. If we're censoring things that are being said in our chat because we don't agree with it, that's wrong. If we're trying to steer a narrative simply to keep people talking to us, that's wrong. We want to put out factual information. We want to keep the information going strong. I want to give Belinda a little bit of a fucking break. Do you know how many people that I personally know that are in her ear? She has got so many people giving her so much information and so many opinions and talking to her. I'm surprised her head hasn't spun off yet. I feel so terrible for Belinda. And I don't blame her for kind of stepping back a little bit, just kind of watching, because it's so toxic right now. So this is not the place for that. We're just gonna talk about Jack and Lily's case. We're gonna talk about everything that happened from day one. And other shit I wanted to play, but I just started talking. Is there a sound issue? There might be. This is my first live truth meeting, so I don't know. Thanks, Bart. Shoe Shine Boy, Emmanuel in 1977. I was 3. I don't remember that one. Thanks, Jess. I really appreciate you being here, Explorer. Thank you, and everybody else. It's been awesome. Oh, wow. I believe there was an accident of some course. I agree with you, however, so the dogs thing or even the bear thing, I don't 100% agree with because there would be some kind of clue. I'll give you that there might not be a huge mess, but there would be some kind of a clue. You know what I mean? So I have a hard time believing that one. Doesn't mean it's not possible. I don't think it was Janie's little ankle biter. But tell me about it. I was a witness in a murder trial. Guy got 3 guys that beat a homeless man to death. Is that in Canada? Which Heather are we talking about? Finding solace. I don't think anybody's spreading false information. If anybody's asking a question or stating an opinion, that's not the same as spreading false information. When a YouTube creator gets in front of his camera to hundreds of viewers, hundreds, because he has, I don't even know how many, but a lot of subscribers, and says the RCMP have cleared these people, that is the definition of giving out false information. It's irresponsible. That's not what happens in chat rooms. In my opinion, because I don't know what you're referring to. But if that happened, let me know. And we'll look at it and we'll talk about it together. Told her to get in the car while D had his hand on the window. They do not have status, Char? Okay. But, I mean, at the point where they were missing, what did I talk about? I think the purpose of that comment was, why did Malaya take their birth certificates? So yeah, I mean, I've also heard that they didn't get their status. But my conversation with Daniel, that's what he told me. And like I said at the very beginning, just because I'm saying that this is what Daniel told me, doesn't mean that that information is true. That means that I'm being truthful when I tell you that Daniel said that to me. Totally different. Randy, sorry, I gotta remember to put comments up. The parole board approves only if the person shows low risk, rehabilitation, and remorse. Yeah, for sure. But I will say that usually when the RCMP tell the media to do a release about somebody being reintegrated into society, they usually have that information under the picture. It says, usually it'll say is moderate risk to reoffend. Moderate risk is not no risk. You got to put children in society first. These people broke the law. They know what they were doing. And that is simply my opinion based on personal experience. Put it that way. So the chief said they had status, Seawood? When did they say that? I mean, you're not wrong. The whole system is broken. The whole system is broken. They're not free as a bird once out. No, but they are free to reoffend. I mean, a restraining order is a piece of paper. We've all heard that before. We've all seen tragic, tragic endings to some restraining orders. Ankle monitors, sure. I mean, I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying our system is broken. I'm curious as to what everyone thinks at this point. Dogs have potentially found something. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that the dogs found anything. I heard rumblings on a certain channel that they found more footprints, but I need to, everybody needs to consider the source. Half of them don't even register. I think that, I mean, that could be true, Jess. It could be true and maybe somewhat accurate. However, I think that there is a requirement that they register. And if they don't, they could probably be sent back. I don't know for sure, but once they're out, another case, Kalia Guyton, another podcast episode that I did. The guy that she was on the cusp of her 3rd birthday. And the guy that murdered her, he was out of prison for 12 hours. And yes, he was on parole. And yes, he was being monitored. 12 hours. 2.5-year-old little girl. Some people just don't deserve the air that they breathe. Last I checked, there is sex offender registry. Yes, for the United States. There is not one for Canada. It's you can apply through the Freedom of Information, but you have to have a solid reason for wanting that information. As far as I know, they do not give out a specific like area map. They'll give you numbers, like a chart. If it wasn't for Facebook, we wouldn't know a lot of the stuff that we know about predators. How terrible is it? There are victim advocates out there that have to do, and it's not the RCMP or municipal police services to let the public know that somebody's being released from jail, because the RCMP and the police, they've done their job in collecting the evidence for the Crown to be able to convict these people. And then they go to jail and they enter the correction system and they serve their sentence. And then And then they become the community's problem again. So at that point, that's when the RCMP is back to having to worry about these people, and that's why they're warning the public that this person's coming. But they have no say in, how much time they serve or when they get released. And most of the policemen that I talk to believe that the justice system needs a serious overhaul as well. I have one of those doors and a little child has a hard time closing it. So my parents have a door like that, and for like my entire life, even as an adult, I would have a bitch of a time opening and closing it. But found out that the little wheels on the bottom were old, whatever. And my dad thought that he was gonna have to replace the whole door, but then Ian comes around and he's like, oh no, it's just these wheels. So he runs to Home Harbor, he comes back and he fixes the door. And it slides nicely now, and it's nowhere near as loud, but it's still heavy as a bitch. Like it's heavy as a bitch. There's no way my little grandson could open it on his own. There's no way. I think that if you're convicted of a crime against a child, I think you should lose all your rights. And Sunny and I had a debate a couple of years ago about this, about prisoners' rights and being treated like dogs behind bars. And morally, maybe it's not right to feel the way I do, but once they're in prison, then they're no longer the problem of society. They were my problem when they hurt my child. They were my problem when they were in my community. When they're behind bars, prison justice, or whatever you want to say, I think that that's got nothing to do with us. Whereas other people think, well, you can't say out of sight, out of mind, and they're still human beings and they deserve respect. I mean, that's a contentious debate to have. Some people that feel strongly one way or another. They send an alert to the community where the offender is going to be. Yes, finding solace, they sure do. And there's nothing the community can do to stop it. And I personally don't think that's right. Because now, not that I care, but now you're putting the offender at risk as well. Because, okay, this person's going to be, it's just a matter of time before somebody tracks them down. And the community, for the most part, I think, a lot of places in Canada are not going to be okay with, depending on what the crime was, but if it's a crime against child or something like that, I don't think a lot of the members of the community, especially, say, blue-collar men with small children, would be comfortable with that person. So they're going to do maybe things that they wouldn't otherwise do in order to discourage that individual from staying in their community. Vigilante justice. And that's not right either. That's not good either. So it's broken. I agree with you about Janie. I do believe she's in the middle of the shit show, and she, to me, she doesn't even realize it. And my big issue with Janie, when we were in that private chat, those clips came from the private chat that they've been all over YouTube for months now, and that's why I didn't have a problem putting them all up, because I think it's important to hear it from beginning to end in order, right? So it's not taken out of context like it is. So now everybody can go and just listen to it one end to the other, and you can see the conversation. You don't get to see the questions we asked, but you can see her answer, which is, I think, pretty self-explanatory for the most part. But the problem is, when she's talking about Daniel, she said, with all the interviews that he's done, nobody would be able to keep their story straight. And I would argue, yes, if they're telling the truth, they could. If you get confused because day one was so stressful, day two was so stressful, and you're confused or muddied about certain details, I get it. I get it. Oh my gosh, I get it. But to not come out and clear things up and then still not have one solid story is questionable. And for when we were in that private chat, I did pose a question that have you listened? Have you seen everything that Daniel has said online? Something like that, right? And that was basically her answer. I would have a hard time keeping things straight too. And I don't think you would. I think that it's very reasonable to understand that people get confused. People forget things. Memories become convoluted with all new information and timelines and stuff. It's super duper hard. I get it. But not to this extent. And then throw in all the other shit that's just noise that happens, like the sweaters comment in Dolly's live chat about them being planted. Where did that even come from? That was the first time we heard about sweaters being missing. That was way back when. Like, where does that even come from? Why are we saying that? We're saying that the blanket wasn't Lilly's. And then coming out and saying the blanket was Lilly's. And then I know for a fact that it was Durwood that told us that, well, no, Daniel lied about the blanket at first to protect Malia. I am looking for that voice clip from Durwood, because he said it. He told us that. And that is why I got blocked from the other channel, for asking that question about why did Daniel admit to lying about the blanket. I got blocked for that. So I'm gonna find that clip so I can play it. Because that wasn't disrespectful. Whatever. They don't deserve privacy after committing a crime. Crime mapping in Canada. It should include all sex offenders, not locations though. The amount of crime, yes, but not location of released sex offenders. Well, I just went to look at a map. I saw it in the past and I'm not finding it. I know it exists because my old neighbor was alerted of a sex offender in the hood. Are you in Canada, Explorer? Because now there is no sex offender registry that the public has access to. There's not. If you find one, let me know, because it doesn't come from the RCMP or the Canadian government. It doesn't exist. I have looked. Trust me, I have looked. Eligible doesn't mean people will be approved. Right. But there are mandatory release dates on some of these serious crimes. Your sentences, they do have mandatory release dates. Then vote differently. Are you in Canada? Are you in Canada? We're not going to get into politics too much, but a lot of people I think here are on the East Coast, so this is no slight against you guys, but I will tell you this, that every time we have an election, the news is calling the results before our polls in the West even close. That's how fair our democracy is here. Just the way our seats work, but the election is decided through two provinces, Ontario and Quebec. I just recently seen that Jack and Lilly are not on the RCMP missing list online. Is this true? No. I mean, we can go look, but I mean, it's still a missing persons case. Everybody's sure to say it's not criminal. It's still a missing persons case. But I'll go back to the question I posed at the very beginning. If they're not being hidden and they didn't wander off into the woods, the only way that it's not criminal, even if they're being hidden, the only way that this case is not criminal is if they wandered into the woods. That's the only non-criminal thing that could have happened. Anything else, there is a crime related to where Jack and Lilly are today. If it wasn't for Facebook and Twitter, Portapig, right, with the Twitter updates, that was crazy. And that's some of the reason why I have such faith in the RCMP, to be honest with you. Because of the shit show that was, and how bad they did, and how horribly they messed up. That's still fresh. You would think that they'd want to do better. I don't know, but Day 5 of the search with HRD dogs. Is it? That is still our sentence, what, 25 years? That's it. But like I said, you can be, if it's more than one, you can be sentenced now consecutively instead of concurrently. So if you kill 2 people, you could get 2 25-year sentences. And instead of like Robert Picton, the pig farmer, his 6 25-year sentences were served concurrently. He was eligible for parole after 25 years. Now they have made it so that consecutive sentences. So 2 murders, if that's the sentence, it'd be 50 years before parole, which is a step in the right direction. Right? Carla, don't worry about it. I'm gonna see what I've got open here just to make sure that I've talked way too much. I feel like I've talked way too much. Even though I'm sitting here to talk, I feel like I'm not used to this. Okay, so so 25 years is basically the maximum sentence you get, and then you become eligible for parole. But we have this thing in Canada called the Dangerous Offender Registry. Now, if you're determined to be a dangerous offender, it's going to come back to you serve your 25 years, but you're a dangerous offender. So your 25 years is actually indeterminate. So you can be behind bars for the rest of your life as long as you have that dangerous offender designation. I'm not sure, but I think there are things they can do to try and lift the dangerous offender designation. But somebody like Paul Bernardo, or the man who killed Holly Jones, Michael Briere, they will never shake their dangerous offender designation. So they'll never see freedom. My point with Bernardo is when you go, and I don't pretend to know all the ins and outs of the prison system, but when you go from a maximum security life sentence to a medium security prison, there are certain things that I think that you can get counseling. I think that you can do schooling. I think that there are more resources and more activities that medium security prisoners have than they would for a maximum life sentence of 25 years in a maximum security prison, I should say. So, yeah. He'll never get out. He's a dangerous offender. 25 years is way up for him, and he has come up for parole, and he is denied every time, and that's because of, in my opinion, and I mean, it's probably online, we can check, but he's designated dangerous offender, which makes it indeterminate. They are under no, he doesn't have a statutory release date like some of these other people, less than humans. Seawood, what did you say that everybody's... They're not on the Canada Missing Children site? Really? Let's look into that for next time. Thanks, Jess. I'm not going to put that up. But, Louise, too. Thanks. Oh, finally. Okay, so I live in the Muskokas, and we had a place called the Country Club Prison. A woman was raped by a man that should have never been in grief. A woman prison? Or a man prison? A co-ed prison? What a joke. What an absolute fucking joke. Hoping you all talk about the discrepancies between the documents and what we've heard from J.D. Durwood, etc. Absolutely, Carla. That is one of my main focuses for this channel. That's what I want to do. And I don't want to point blame or accuse anybody of doing anything. I want to take their own words and I want to put them up and I want to talk about them. And I want to make it clear to them what needs to be clarified. Because forgetting about it, glossing over it, it's not doing anyone any favors. All it's doing is giving fuel for people to say Daniel's a liar, Daniel's this, Janie's that, blah, blah, blah. But nobody's fairly putting it out and saying, okay, look, can you answer this? And maybe, just maybe, if you put it out in a respectful and organized fashion, they might be able to understand where we're coming from a little bit better. That's what I'm hoping for my Jack and Lilly coverage. Going back to everything that they said, and we're going to stay on them and just not look for new information. We'll cover it when it comes out, but we're going to get to the bottom of these inconsistencies and we're going to try to clear it up. But I lose sleep over some of the stuff that they've said or not said. You're welcome, Heather. I don't know for what, but you're welcome. And maybe a question I answer. I explore. My experience with the justice system here was eye-opening. I was told getting justice as a victim was unlikely because the criminals have more rights. I wish they had told me this ahead of time. Wow, is that ever hard to explain though? So you raise a good point. It is very true. We feel like these people, well, why do we call them people? These POSs who are charged with crimes, they victimize us. We feel like they have more rights than we do. When they don't, it's not more rights. They're just exercised differently at some point. Their Privacy Act comes into play. You know what I mean? And when you're a victim and you're looking at these people and we can't talk about this and they need that because it's their right and blah, 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 you're thinking, well, what about my rights? What about my kids' rights? They took everything from them or from me. What about my rights? When everything seems to be about the offender. I agree with you. It's so wrong. And what can you do about it? It's not like people haven't petitioned or tried to change the laws before, especially victims of crime and the parents of children who are victims of crime haven't tried to change the laws. And there have been new laws brought in, but it's never enough. It's never enough. We need new laws and we need a new government. We need a stricter on crime government. It's just the long and short of it. And I don't know that the whole right wing, super hard on crime group have the answers either, because the United States is still rampant with this kind of stuff. So where's the answer? What goes wrong in somebody's head? Where do things go wrong in somebody's head where they're capable of harming a child in this way? That's how you stop it. Figure that out. Treat it at its source. Look at John Douglas, and they've been working at that for decades. I'm going to definitely look into this and see if they're on the list. I heard rumors a few months back that they were taken off the list, but I don't know. So I'll look into that. Hey, Roots. Yeah, you missed that. I've been live for 2 hours. Shocking. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it for like half an hour. I don't have that much to say. Which I don't. I feel like I'm repeating myself. Whatever. Those are towels. Yes. Have to email them and ask them then. About what? I want to know what Wade told Tint is true of if So if you believe that that tint video is authentic, that Wade wasn't aware that he was being recorded, and he's just a chatty Cathy with a perfect stranger, if we believe that, which I have no reason not to, then why would Wade lie? Just to lie? I believe what Wade said in that video. I do. I do. Except he was wrong about the diapers. Like all those diapers in the garbage bags. That wasn't diapers, that was laundry that was wet when it was put in garbage bags and then thrown in the basement and mildew. That's what Belinda had said. Diapers, there were garbage bags full of diapers on the back deck. Something like that. Not that that makes it much better, but that was the only thing. And like when you say rats living in the walls and stuff like that, maybe, but how did he know? Just stuff like that could have been exaggerated, but I have no reason to disbelieve what Wade told Tint under those particular circumstances. He didn't know Tint was a YouTuber. He didn't know any of that was happening. So was the library and coffee shop Wi-Fi checked? And like, I have no idea, Randy. I have no idea. We haven't seen any evidence of that in those court documents. Yes, Crime Beat actually, Nancy Hicks and I were in contact a while because, believe it or not, one of those episodes is about somebody in my family. I may be on that show this year. I'm not sure yet. Haven't decided, but it's in the works. Nancy Hicks is an amazing investigative journalist. She does really. She's so very compassionate, and she's great with victims' families, and she reports it in a way that's not salacious or, she's worked hard in her career to get to where she's at, and I really like her. I'm just. So when you guys talk about burner phones, what are you talking about? Just like a phone with a separate SIM card that you pick up at Walmart? It's almost disposable, like a little flip phone or whatever. Is that what you're talking about when you talk about like a burner phone, like a pay as you go, a pay and talk, I think they're called? It's not registered to you or to a specific person. Is that what a burner phone is? It'd be nice if Cindy came forward. It would be nice, but do you blame them when they're sitting back and watching everything that that Daniel and Janie are going through? I don't think it can be confirmed by a family member of Malaya's. That's just hearsay. I'm sure the RCMP would have found out if they did have burner phones. They may have, but at the same time, if I'm right and that's what it is, it's just a phone that you go to Walmart or whatever and buy a flip phone. It doesn't have it's not registered to a particular person, just a particular phone number. I mean, it's possible that they're not traceable. Maybe. Okay, I'll look into that. Just because someone said he had burner phones doesn't make it true. Absolutely. Same as anything in this case. But she can say that she truly heard it from Logan that Daniel had a burner phone. That's what she can say is a fact. Now, what Logan said, is that a fact? Don't know. But it's a fact that Jess heard it from Logan, is how I would look at that. I would suspect they would still get a warrant, just like the cadaver dogs, guys. I know the safe channel for Daniel and Janie was saying, and Janie herself was saying, well, they don't need a warrant. They have my permission to come and search whenever they want. But they would get a warrant regardless, just in case they found something, just to make sure they have all their T's crossed and their I's dotted, right? If you mess anything up in an investigation, anything that came before that, like if they were to collect evidence and they didn't have a proper search warrant and then they revoked their permission for them to be on the property, everything that was collected up to and including that evidence would be disallowed from court. It's called the fruit of the poisonous tree in Canada. So, in my opinion, permission or not, they have search warrants for everything that they're going to search. Whether Janie says, come on in, guys, they're still going to have a warrant to do what they're doing. And if they don't have one at the beginning of a search, if they find something before they even touch it or analyze it, they're going to get a search warrant, which is why I don't think that they would bother waiting. I think that they had to have a plan in place. They had to organize and schedule these HRD dogs to come in. They've had time to get those warrants. And it's only probable cause, right? Very low standard. I mean, children are missing. And when you have a missing persons, the Missing Persons Act makes it a lot easier to get these search warrants. So I think that no matter what they're searching and when they're searching, they definitely have a search warrant for it. In my opinion, no way to verify, but you were told criminals have more rights. Like I said, I don't think it's more. I just think that they're more emphasized when they're being, when they're going through the justice system for victimizing you or somebody that you know. It seems like they have more rights because at that particular moment they do. In a way, we all have the same rights. They're just not deserving of them after they victimize people. That makes sense. That's just what I think. Those videos were turned over. I mean, that's the whole thing. The videos themselves have been destroyed from anywhere. I don't even think the police have them in the archives anymore. Now, they were his property up until he was convicted. He gave them to his defense lawyers. That's a whole story. We can talk about it sometime if you want, Randy. I mean, you seem to know about the case, so I enjoy talking true crime with people, especially stuff like that. But in my opinion, I'm just going to throw it out there about Carla, because she gave her testimony and got her deal before those tapes became aware. But part of her deal had to have been telling the truth, and she didn't tell the truth, and she withheld. So to me, that deal should have been null and void. Same as, just a little bit off track here, but Kohlberger and his plea deal, there is no reason why a caveat to his pleading guilty or them taking the death penalty off the table was to tell us where your clothes are, tell us where the murder weapon is. And if we don't recover those things, it's no deal, you're going to trial. There is no excuse for making those kind of deals. Carla Homolka has been free for 12, 15, I don't know, I want to say 2008 she was released. She served, 12 years? Murdering her own sister and helping murder 2 other people at least, and sexually assaulting dozens. And some of it is on video. that they found after she signed her deal. They found out she lied about her involvement. Her deal should have been null and void, but it wasn't. They call it the deal with the devil. Google it. I'm not kidding. Okay. What do you think of Malaya's text to Sunny about them telling the truth? That's not just odd or off. That is nonsensical. To think, and here's another thing too, and it kind of goes with this. So some people say, I don't pay attention to what people say. It's not important. I pay attention to facts. The information the RCMP have come out with, which you guys all know is next to nothing. So if that's what you're basing your own investigation off, all the power to you. Keep looking in those woods. Good. But you're a fool if you think for 1 second that the people directly involved aren't being watched and that everything that they say on any platform doesn't matter to the RCMP. You are a foolish investigator if you really truly believe that. Now what Durwood says, no, they probably don't care. Patty probably don't care. But the people that were there on the property, of course they want to know what they're saying. And if their stories that they tell the RCMP are changing online, of course they're being asked about that. And if they're not being asked about it, it's still being documented for whatever investigative purposes. But everything that people who are connected to an investigation, especially the last people to see these children, are saying online to RCMP, to their friends, to whoever is tipping stuff in, matters. And yes, the RCMP are watching and listening. And it doesn't make any sense because for Malaya to have said that to Sunny, well, he tells the RCMP and CPS the truth, but he lies to the media and online. How does the RCMP and CPS know which is which? They don't. And it just shows you where Malaya is intellectually in this case. It's the nicest way I can put it. Hi, Sharon. You know what I mean? Just really quickly, Justin, about this and the documents. Those documents were strictly, it was information that the RCMP was using to get search warrants, to obtain certain records, do certain things. But it's not everything that's out so far. And in my opinion, other than people can think the polygraph results are important and the statements that have been given to the RCMP are the only important things in all of those documents. The rest of it, the fruits of all of those search warrant affidavits and the documents that we've seen, to me, the RCMP have moved on from. That's just my opinion, no information. That's just what I think. And I'm entitled to think that. But just because something's not mentioned in those documents, the reason why it could have been redacted or not mentioned, because I don't know what you're talking about, but it very likely could be relevant to the current state of the investigation. Stuff they don't want in the public. So, like, I don't know what you're talking to or referring to. I'm talking about anything. If it wasn't in the documents or we didn't see it because it was redacted, maybe it's still relevant. Maybe they don't want the public to know. Just throwing it out there. As trackers know are a must. Right? Sad state of society when I have trackers on my grandson's backpack and his shoes. I am behind. I'm sorry, you guys. Yes, you missed a live. So CBC did an article, a news story today on the Jack and Lilly case, but it was mostly focused on online coverage. They actually talked to Sunny. and she did an interview. So there is a link on her live from this morning. I'm not sure how long her live was. 2 hours and 14 minutes, you guys. I don't want to be on this long. Want to read that one. I dated a guy whose sister and brother-in-law worked with Leslie case when she was found in concrete. Terrible. That whole Leslie Mahaffey story is terrible. They got married. They were getting married. Her dream wedding. The day that Leslie's little body was found. Confirmation bias. Funny, because that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, but I think that a roundabout way I have. It doesn't matter what we think or what we believe. We're going to hear all the new information and we're going to make it fit into our own beliefs and our own narrative. I think it's human nature. But that's why I asked at the very beginning for let's just try to be non-judgmental when we go back and we're looking at the videos and we're listening to the clips, and just try to take away our bias, which is there, it just is, and listen to it for what it is. Listen to the words. That's how we step away from confirmation bias. And confirmation bias is completely different than ignorance. When you're out there stating things as fact that are not facts, when you're out there stating things and not clarifying because your statements are done, that's just plain ignorance to me. You're playing people for stupid, for whatever motive, which I don't understand it. If everybody's innocent, these kids didn't evaporate. Something happened to them. And confirmation bias is not going to help find them. So anyways, we're gonna go back and we're gonna and it's not for everybody. I understand. We don't. There are many legitimate reasons to not want to go back and not want to listen to everything again. There really are. I get it. But I don't I don't see anywhere else related and relevant to go with it, because I am not going to get caught up in the toxicity of YouTube coverage for this case. I am not going to pit myself against anyone else. I am not in it for the clicks and views. I don't care. I love that you're all here and I thank you for all being here. But I want to put the information out in a try to put it out in a non-judgmental way, and hopefully bring the focus back to Jack and Lilly instead of all the lies and bullshit. That's a fact, Jules. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's not confirmation bias. That is a fact. Oh man, Justin, you should be like, where are you gonna go? There's so little to go if you're not, if you're not into psychics and tarot readers, and I can't even watch those anymore. It's just, sometimes there are certain channels that I find amusing, but so few places to go anymore, just because it's so toxic and so venomous towards people for no reason. And some of the venom that was thrown the other night has absolutely nothing to do with Jack and Lily's case. Just threatening to push somebody down a mountain on their wheelchair. Like, who are you and why are you being this way over a perfect stranger who's trying to help? Okay, whatever. Moving on. Keep it moving. It's going to be really hard for me to keep it without getting too passionate and too, There's a Daniel Martel exclusive update on the DT show. I'm sure there is, Andy. I'm sure there is. Everybody else can go and watch it because I'm not. I won't. I can't. It's too much. They won't clear up their inconsistencies. So if somebody's source are these people, sole source are these people, why is it more believable because it's coming from the mouth of somebody with a YouTube channel? Crickets. Because it's not. Give me a break. If they want to clear up stuff, or if somebody wants to admit that what they say matters in this investigation, I'll change my mind. But until that happens, no thanks. I'm super, super sorry that I'm so behind in chat, and I had no intention of being on here for 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I don't want to miss any of your comments. I'm so sorry if I did. If there's anything like super important, put it in now, because I'm going to wrap it up. And I don't want to miss anything that you guys really wanted answered, okay? So I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You should have been charged by neglect by now, yes. And I mean, I have thoughts about that. And I mean, my thoughts surround about if they are guilty of something, or if the RCMP think that they know where the kids are, or where remains could be located, or clues, or anything like that. Is it possible that they haven't been charged with anything yet because it's more likely somebody will slip up if they're not locked behind bars on some trumped up charge? Maybe. Like, I don't know, but that's where my mind goes. Maybe there's a reason why they haven't been charged. But the reason might also be that there's not enough evidence to support a charge that'll stick. It's a lot to ask people in Canada to trust the RCMP. It is a huge ask, and I get it. The people that don't, I really do. But I've got to put my faith that they're doing what they need to do. Because publicly, no matter what it looks like, publicly they're not treating this case different than any other case. Right or wrong, but they're not putting information out in the public. Really, you know. No, Randy, there was no. Thank you, Justin. Louise, I'm not a natural. I'm not. My anxiety right now is so high because I'm looking at the clock ticking and I'm like, holy fuck, I don't talk for 2 hours. I don't talk for 2 hours to anybody. Excuse my language. Sorry. Phone, cell phone you buy at 7-Eleven, Walmart, you pay prepaid minutes. Yeah. You're supposed to register it under your name, but is there like an ID check or anything? Like there could be. I don't know a thing about it. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how anybody would know if you walked into a 7-Eleven and bought like a burner phone and then got rid of it. But I mean, I don't see these people as that diabolical and that devious or that smart to outsmart law enforcement. I'm having a hard time with all of it. And it's super important, like I said, that we go back and I keep saying that and I keep prolonging this bullshit when really 2 hours ago probably should have went back to the beginning because I'm bad. Good question. Wouldn't it show up on the geofencing? You'd think if it was, you'd think. I don't know. Maybe we can get those Celebrate people to talk to us now that we know their names because of the Brian Kohlberger investigation. Maybe they just like give me a quick explanation how something like that would work. We can talk about it another time, Explorer, but deal with the devil is right. However, she's changed her name, but people have outed her in every community she goes to. So, I mean, I don't think she's... But who the hell does she think she is? She's got kids of her own. Why would you want to bring kids into this world after what you've done, knowing what kind of life they're going to live when they find out what you've done, and people are going to find out what their mother did, and what kind... Terrible. So many unpopular opinions. Oh my God, you guys. I'm so far behind. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Belinda. Kim, hopefully you were super young. Like, that's scary. You lived there when he was doing his crime spree. Hi, Nova. Just about to leave. I'm stressed right out. I cannot believe they've been talking for 2 hours and 26 minutes. By myself. So we're all on board. We're going to go back. We're going to start from square one. We're going to do the thing. We're going to do it. We're going to do what nobody else is doing. We're just going to talk about it. We're going to stop rehashing all the bullshit that's come out. We're going to bring it out, hopefully in real time, like as it happened. And we're going to figure it out. And if we're not going to figure it out, we're going to at least put it out there in a respectful way so that maybe Janie won't be so defensive and Daniel will understand that we're not trying to poke holes in his story. We're simply trying to piece it together. Hi, Belinda. Thank you for being here. I wouldn't bother rewatching. I absolutely had nothing new to say. I really didn't. That's not what I'm doing this for. I'm trying to be Switzerland here. I don't want to be... I'm trying to clear the fog in all of the toxicity that's going on lately, is what it is. But thank you for being here, Belinda and Nova. Everybody else, thank you. And I'm still scrolling, trying to get to the end. That's the end of chat. I am the goat, am I? The goat. Changed her name, and she was not supposed to be around children, right? She was actually, yeah, it's so funny. Carla Homolka, she was never supposed to be around children again. She changed her name, she got married, she had kids, and she was part of the PTA. She was taking kids on field trips and thought nobody would recognize her. Stupid. Well, Seawood and Roots and Belinda, all of you, we can walk through this together because I have no idea what I'm doing. I have a lot of information. Yes, we've been here since day one, but together we're going to piece it together and we're going to go forward. And Crazy Town, I wasn't worried. I just didn't want to. I don't want to be one of those YouTubers that sit on here for 3 hours, 4 hours, just talking to talk, because I'm not a talker. I don't talk to talk. But I guess I talked to talk today, just to babble. Ugh. Anyway. Okay, guys. Okay. Looks okay. I was going to do that one last thing about make sure there was nothing that I wanted to share that I didn't. So go back and go to, if you listen to podcasts on Apple or Spotify, you can listen to my podcast on those apps, or you can go to YouTube. Like I said at the beginning, my platform for the podcast automatically loads it into YouTube. Go listen to Holly Jones' story. Go listen to Tori Stafford. Those 2 episodes are Canadian cases. And it's how parents act when their kids go missing. It's just the way it is. I do not have an intro and I do not have an outro. So when I say goodbye, that's it. I don't know if the chat is still able to go. So is it better to listen to Charmaine? Perhaps you are being asked to, so the children will be found. Thank you for doing this. Maybe. My goodness, that must have been frightening. My lung pain. Okay. Is it better to listen on podcast or YouTube? Totally up to you. Like I said, I'm not monetized on either platform. I've been doing the podcast for years. My daughter and I had decided that that's not what we were doing it for. My reasons for starting the podcast are not something that anybody would ever guess or understand, probably. I can talk about it one day if you want, but I'm not monetized. The clicks, the views, the shares, the subs, that's not why I'm doing it. If I get there one day, naturally, fine, but that's not why I'm doing it. If you watch on YouTube, it goes towards my watch hours. If you don't, I don't care. Wherever's easiest for you. Wherever's easiest for you. Looks like everybody's on board with going back to the beginning, and I'm super excited to walk with you guys through that, because I'm not doing it alone. So we'll do it together, okay? With that, I'm going to go. Have a good night, day, whatever time it is, wherever you are. And thanks for being here. Bye. Bye.